I work in a school, you worked in a school for 20 years, and
Yes.
they're talking about attendance, they're talking about behavior, they're talking about
Yes.
the gaps, right? But there's a
Yeah.
name that's almost never mentioned out loud. And the name is father, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Not absent fathers, not bad fathers, just fathers, period.
Fathers.
They're not
Yeah.
even mentioned. And I've sat in school hallways, conferences, classrooms long enough to notice something. And that's when a dad shows up, man, the air changes in the
It does.
room.
It does.
My desk is in the main office, and when dad walks through those doors, it's just different. And
It is.
so, teachers lean in, the kids start standing taller all of a sudden,
Yes. Yes.
expectations they rise. And yet somehow fathers are treated like some optional accessory, if you will,
Yeah.
in the academic journey of their own children. And our hope, I guess, JK, is that we we could change that somehow. So, man, audience, Pop Talk Land, we're sitting with someone who's seen this up close for decades,
Yes.
from the classroom, not just the comment section, right? Just not on social media land, but
No.
seen this with his own eyes, a retired teacher, an author, someone who understands both education and the family dynamic. And so we're talking about why active fathers still matter in schools. What happens when they don't show up, and what changes when they do? And so let's get it in without further ado. Man, we got Mr. J.K. Lynch here. Man, I'm excited to have you back on the podcast, brother. How you
Glad to
been?
be here. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I am with so many people in the South fighting to get out of the ice and get back to civilization. But it has been a week-long journey, and hoping that tomorrow's warm up above freezing will help in that battle of trying to break free of this ice.
Hopefully, man. This ice has been crazy. I know a lot of people dreaded it, but man, I didn't know that it could get. It's been years since I've experienced something like this. I think I was living in Tennessee at the time when that last time I experienced something of this magnitude. Man, it shut us down for over a week. That was crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But we're talking about dads, man, and it's
Yes,
bigger than the grades, man. It's
it is.
more than attendance. You know we never talk about the impact that fathers make on academics. And so let's get into it, man. From your perspective, JK, as a retired teacher, how did
Mhm.
you feel the difference when a father was visibly involved versus absent?
A father's visibility is everything.
Hmm.
It if you want to really see academic change, behavioral change, um, even for the kid to be veered in the right direction, that they want to do sports
Yeah.
or they want to do a certain club or activity, and that father steps in and says, if you're not handling business in the classroom, you can forget about the other stuff. That
Wow.
that authority, when you have that father that knows his authority and that father who is very active and engaged with their child's life. Oh, you're gonna see a difference. You're gonna definitely see a difference, especially with sons, especially with sons, because it's something about a dad coming up in there that's
Hmm.
gonna make that back straighten up. It's just like, oh, this the dude that can shut me down altogether.
Wow, that's I know that's the case. Even with my own dad, it was cool for, my mom to come up to the school, my grandma, maybe even
Yeah,
an auntie to come up to the school. But man, when
yeah,
dad stepped, especially my dad had zero filter. And so when my dad come into the spot, man, listen, like
yeah.
what is it, a holiday? Like what did I do? Like, man, oh my goodness. I'm going up to my teacher's desk. Is there any extra credit that I could do to knock
Exactly.
out to just, man? Because the last thing we need is my dad coming up to the school, asking questions, inquiring about his son.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, That's crazy. What are some of the biggest myths schools still believe, you think, in your opinion, in your 20 years of teaching?
Mhm.
What are some myths that schools still believe about dads and education?
I think that the biggest thing as far as dads are concerned, and this crosses socioeconomics, this
Hmm.
crosses race, it it is a thing of there's a stigma that dad doesn't care, dad's apathetic.
Yeah.
If dad's coming to the school, it's huge.
Mm.
That means the kid is going to be suspended or expelled, or the kid may not graduate. That's when stereotypically people think that dads come around. For the most part, it's like for everything else, you call mom. And I think that schools make that mistake of how vital and how important fathers are. Just thinking about the situation in Louisiana some years back where they were having too much fighting in a particular school, and a group of dads came together, and that was their thing. They were coming in, they were volunteering, and they saw the amount of issues in the building drop tremendously because of
Wow.
that paternal presence. So I know that the last building that I worked in, we were definitely trying to get that
Hmm.
program in place, and bureaucracy stepped in, and that halted progress. But I dare to imagine what life would have been like had we seen active and engaged fathers walking the halls and catching their kids when their kids kind of a little out of line. I dare to
Yeah.
believe that activeness, because a lot of the kids that I worked with or encountered, they felt like the adults didn't care.
Right.
That was like the common misnomer that the kids believe,
Yeah.
that teachers don't care about us. Parents don't care about you, not parents, I'm sorry. Teachers don't care, administrators don't care. Only time that we hear from them is when we're in trouble and they're about to put us out. Otherwise, they can care less about us.
You
So,
said that you said that there was bureaucracy, and I don't know exactly what that bureaucracy was. However, I'm just thinking, what you have experienced, what that school had experienced, that same bureaucracy, if it was a team of moms trying to come into the school. And I'm not trying to pit one against the other. I'm not trying to do that because
mm-mm.
both are equally important. You need mom, you need
Mhm.
dads, you need,
Mhm.
healthy situations when it comes to parenting,
Absolutely.
whether it's under the same roof or co-parenting situations.
Yeah.
However, I think it speaks to how comfortable and how we I wouldn't say comfortable, how we've evolved to this
Mhm.
place where we've we've delegated the whole education, learning,
Yeah.
school experience and
Yeah.
academic journey over to moms and women.
Yeah. Yeah.
And where we
Um,
where like so speak to that.
well, one, you have the stereotype that education and that the idea of educating is a nurturing thing, and nurturing thing is stereotypically a woman thing. So because of
Mm,
that, it
mm,
has we have seen a culture and at least 2 to 3 generations worth of children come through school divisions, Gen X, millennials, and Z, coming through school divisions, and this kind of like it's my mom, because the school is, majority of the teachers are women, majority of administrators
yeah.
are women now, and you're seeing that, so there's that stigma of, well, mom can handle it, when it that should not be the case. Dad has to, like, if fathers, if you don't get anything else, you are so vital in the education of your child,
Yeah.
that, and it's not just an involvement, because sometimes what I end up seeing is fathers get involved when it is curriculum that they don't philosophically agree with. And that's when all of a sudden, it's time for war. And it's like,
Mm,
no, no, you from cat, dog, apple in kindergarten to learning the preamble of the Constitution in 12th grade, you have a vital role and a vital part in your child's education and making sure that it's not just the stuff that you philosophically disagree with, it's the totality because you have to be that resounding voice of talking about those topics that come up in the classroom, having those conversations with your kids, teaching them that education is vital, not just bookworm stuff, life skills, soft skills, technical skills. All of that is education.
I love how you talked about that spectrum between K and 12 and everything that
Mhm,
you're learning in there. I think about, the memory that stands out the most to my father, who's now passed on. He's in glory now. However, man, I got this memory of him. I don't know if I was late for school. I know that I was late for school. However,
mhm,
I missed the bus or whatever. I'm young. This is probably between first and second grade,
mhm.
and it could have been even kindergarten. Um, Half day kindergarten. But I remember my dad taking me to school, walking me to school, and this was a hike. This was a couple miles, three to 5 miles. And
Okay.
part of it, like when you get close to my school in Cincinnati, if you're familiar with the Cincinnati area, you know that it's hills everywhere. So we're going up this steep hill and my legs are getting tired. And he turns to me, he said, "Are you getting tired?" And I said, "Yeah, we didn't have a car then at this time." And so he's walking me to school. He puts me on his back. My dad was a Marine, once a Marine, always a Marine, puts me on his back and he trikes up the hill with me on his back all the way up to school. And I told him to drop me off like several houses before we got to my school because I was too embarrassed for my parents. I thought I was a big boy. And I told him, "Dad, I got it from here. I could walk from here." And so he let me walk from there. But I just remember my dad just playing this active role in my life during the elementary years, right? But
Yes.
when you look at the stats and when you look at the data and the research, there seems like there's this drop off with father involvement after the elementary school years. Why,
Massively.
why,
Yes.
why do you think that the fatherhood involvement dropped sharply during that time?
I think because what I think may go through a lot of fathers' minds is okay, they're in middle school, high school. I'm prepping them for life.
Mm,
I'm teaching, I should be teaching them the hygiene. I should be teaching them how to get along with their significant other. I'm teaching them how to prep for a job. I'm teaching them, how to drive and different life skills. And I think the parents feel like in many instances the education at the schoolhouse takes a back seat because I'm doing all this other stuff,
mm,
and
mm.
what I also have seen very interesting is when kids hit high school, you see a lot of parents fall off where
Wow.
they're like, they got it. And it's like, no, no. Until that diploma is in your hands and you snatch it from your kid and put it on your wall in your house because you deserve that thing just as much as they did,
Yeah.
until that day comes, you are an active participant in your child's education.
Mm. I remember being a part of, and I agree with you. I totally agree with you. Um, when I was serving with the Boys and Girls Club, I was a unit director for the Teen Center in Columbia, Tennessee. Shout out to the
Mhm.
38401. Man, I was part of this program called Watchdogs. We
Okay.
dads of great students. So they go into the classrooms. You've probably seen this. They had a story, a segment on Good Morning America some years ago. And man, I was part of this team that went into the classrooms. And so what it is dad signed up for one day or as many days as you like throughout the school calendar year. You
Okay.
sign up, you take a day off from work, and you go into that particular school, whether it's your child's school or another school, right? And you spend the day at the school and you serve in different capacities. I mean, you're in the classroom, you're sitting in the back, you're helping, you're a hallway monitor, you're in the
Yes.
cafeteria watching the cafeteria line, you're just
Right.
patrolling the hallways. And when I tell you, when
Yeah.
that dad energy is in the building, it changes the temperature.
It
It
does.
changes the entire classrooms. And I just believe that when fathers disappear from schools, the expectation disappears from students. It's like the expectations came back into the building when I saw like this army, this brigade of dads
Yeah.
enter in through this watchdog program. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's phenomenal. We in the Richmond area, and I talk about this in my book, You Can't Make This Stuff Up,
Hmm.
Stories of a Tired Former Teacher. I talk about in one of the stories that my father was a part of the Lunch Buddies program when I was in high school. When I was in high school, he did the Lunch Buddies program through his job with
Mm,
Richmond City government. And their responsibility, they would go in once a week and they would have one or two lunch buddies they would sit with. They would talk about discipline. They would talk about grades and just seeing just that interaction of once a week for 30 minutes, how much that
wow.
impacted a child. I think about my dad's impact, but I also think about, and this, I know we're talking about dads, but I think about this one lady that I worked with before I left teaching, Gail Ledbetter. Love her.
Hmm.
She was a substitute administrator, so she would come in when admin were out, and the kids called her grandma. Like she was
That's
that
good.
lady that would sit in the hallway, and if she saw the kids that were walking the halls, and she's like, "Baby, I told you to go to class." Yes, grandma, I'm going now. You know,
Wow. That's
and
powerful.
just that the fact that somebody cares enough to know the kid's name, because
Come on now.
that's what speaks to the kids now. If someone cares enough to let me know I'm seen, not just to see me to fuss at me, but to see me to say, how'd you score in the game last night? How's your family doing?
Mm,
I heard your little brother was sick. What's going on? How's it? Like when kids feel that genuineness, and that's not only that's dads, that's y'all, but that's
yeah.
also that partnership in the education setting. That kid is going to be the healthiest child possible.
I love that. Jeffrey Canada, he's like one of my heroes. He's the president and founder of the what is it, the Harlem Zone project up there. It's like,
Okay. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so he was on Oprah not too long ago where they were talking about fatherlessness and whatnot. And he said that children don't succeed because of programs. He said they succeed because adults refuse to give up on them. He said if you got just one caring adult in your life, it makes all the difference. And that sounds like, yeah, that sounds like what you're talking about, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I wanna kind of shift what we're talking about
Hmm.
to some of the problems that we're seeing in schools: chronic absenteeism,
Yeah.
achievement gap when it comes to um, testing, as well as
Hmm.
literacy gaps for boys in particularly, and how that's widening. The problem that Black boys disproportionately are being disciplined and
Hmm.
underrepresented in gifted programs.
Yeah.
Problems
Yes.
like, heck, teacher burnout linked
Yeah.
to lack of family participation, going back to that debt coming in. When you hear terms like chronic absenteeism and
Hmm.
achievement gap, what role do fathers quietly play in these outcomes?
Oh wow. What the role that fathers play
Hmm.
is children see, children do what they see. Like a parent can talk, 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 and that might work up until probably the end of elementary school. And I promise you, whatever you are not doing that you're telling your kid to do,
Hmm.
that hypocrisy is going to be called out as you get older, as that kid gets older.
Hmm.
And what you find is, I remember that this was a study that was done a long time ago. If a child does not see their parents reading, the child's literacy suffers.
Wow.
So when we look at it, when we look at achievement gaps, a lot of it just breaks down to literacy. Like so much of it deals with literacy. The average, I think it's been revealed at least within the past year, the average American reads on a fifth grade reading level. Fifth grade.
Wow.
So you imagine a teacher getting up there telling the kids, y'all got to read A Lesson Before Dying by Ernest Gaines, which is a phenomenal book, Pops. If y'all haven't read that book, that is a phenomenal book and phenomenal movie. But
I have to put a link in the video description below.
oh yes, it's an awesome book. But Ernest Gaines writes that book, and for you as a dad to be like, go read that book. Your teacher told you need to read in order for you to pass the class. If they're not seeing you read, even if it's technical instructions, even if it's a recipe, whatever it is, like the kids need to see you modeling what the teachers are saying. If the teachers are saying reading is vital, they need to see you doing it. If the PE teacher is saying being active removes a lot of the risk of heart disease and diabetes and all those things, you're gonna have to do some movement. Like the kids
That's
gotta
good.
see, like you can't fuss at the kid and say, man, get up. All you did is play that video game all day. You ain't move, you ain't wash, you ain't do this. And if they're not seeing you model the behavior,
That's
trust and
powerful.
believe. Trust and believe, they're not gonna do it.
That's powerful. That's powerful. That's a tweetable moment, man. Y'all go ahead and tweet that. Y'all go ahead and share that. Man, that's added to your story. That's good. If I see dad do it, man, maybe I should do it too. That's
Oh
powerful.
yeah.
And
Getting those
so,
kids, I was just going to say this real quick, getting your
mhm,
kids to participate with you in certain things, especially as they're developing, you're fixing something, get them out there with you fixing it. You're reading the instructions, have them read the instructions to you because
mhm.
that's going to help build their literacy. When you're doing those types of things, you're doing those teachable moments that the kids don't think it is, but they're going to love you for it down the road.
Man, that's powerful. That's so powerful. Um, Man, attendance problems. I'm reading. I was going through some articles while I was prepping through this, and I was reading about an article where like attendance problems are often linked to um father engagement problems in disguise, right? And so how does a father's presence change a child's attendance? How does it change a child's behavior? Long before grades ever show it, long before you get that report card at the end of the 9 weeks.
Oh my gosh. It is that thing of you got to make sure that the school has your updated phone numbers and email addresses. So if your
Dang.
child is tardy, hey, you need to know about it. I remember my last principal, my most favorite principal I ever had the chance to work with. She did this strategy of it was lunchtime, the kids weren't going to class because they were going to the cafeteria. She was like, "Oh, we shutting down the cafeteria and we locking the doors. Y'all kids that are caught in the hallway, come
Uh-oh.
outside, come to the office because we're gonna deal with you." And what she did was every kid that was there, parents were getting called. And over at least about a 2 to 3 week period, what happened? Oh my gosh, kids were like, please stop calling my parents. Like, please, you are making my life difficult. And she was like, you got an option.
You
Go to
got an
class.
option.
Go to class.
Wow.
So just seeing like you got to make sure as the parent. I have a good friend of mine. One thing that he did, he may not have filled out the paperwork at the beginning of the school year because
Mhm.
everybody's irritated with that paperwork. It's like 50,000 papers, and it's the same thing every year. But one thing that he did with his son's teachers, he emailed all of them personally. He said, "This is my contact information. My
Mhm.
son's being an idiot. You email me directly." And his son never knew. His son is almost 40 years old. I don't even think his son
He
knows.
still don't know.
I don't think his son knows. But when I talked to him about it, we had a very open conversation. And he said, "Listen, I know my son is two different people. He's the boy that I know from that's at home that knows that I will wreck his world if he come out of line. But then he knows at school he can try to see how much he can skirt, you know, and thinking that the teacher's not going to say anything."
Right.
So he was that parent that was like, "Oh no, y'all contact me directly. Don't call his mom. Mama and I, yes,
You
we're
should talk
together.
to me.
But you talk to you call me." So I think that right there, make sure the
Yeah,
school has your updated information.
that's
Nothing
good.
irritated me more than parents who block the school's number
Mm,
were the parents who would, when the school called, would cuss the school people out. And then
seen that.
all of a sudden, when all hell is breaking loose, that's when you're like, why didn't y'all tell me? And it's like, did we not realize the law of unintended consequences?
Come on now. I say it and I'm gonna keep saying it. Schools work best when families are treated as partners,
Yes.
right? not
Yes.
problems, and vice
Yes.
versa. When
Yes.
parents treat the schools like partners and not problems,
Problems. Yes.
and so it's like we have to work together. This has to be a mutual effort on both parts, where we're working together in a culture, in a day and age where, cell phones change, especially if there's some type of level of dysfunction.
Yeah.
I want to be careful when I say that, but I know that phone numbers change often. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
I got
That happened.
friends. I got friends that say, "Hey, this is my new number. Hey, this is my new number." And people move
Yeah.
around, and so you want the
Yeah.
number from that particular location. So I don't want to be biased in that, but in the day
Yeah.
and age where your number changed, just put it in your reminder list to send the school your new number as well. You send Why you sending all your friends your new number? Send the school your new number. Email it your
Yeah.
child's teacher.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that?
I definitely recommend that, but it's also a thing of just from a standpoint of if something crazy happens in the school, don't you want to be notified? So if
Facts.
my number changes, I'm gonna make sure that the school knows because if something crazy goes down, I want to make sure.
Why
And
didn't they
trust
call
and
me?
believe.
That's the first thing you're gonna say. Why didn't they
Oh,
call?
it's either why didn't they call me or because I have some advice for parents at the end of the segment, a little bit of advice for parents at the end of the segment.
Okay.
Um, but just be a solution bearer,
Mhm.
not a problem creator. And I'll get to that at the end of the segment.
Cool. Cool. Why does, we talked about when the father steps into the room or steps into the office and shows up at the school that that child's back straightens up, right?
Mhm.
His chin lifts up. And it's
Mhm.
not just because they're in trouble per se, but it's
No.
like, man, there's a sense of pride where, look, that's my dad. My dad is here, or should be a level of pride.
Yeah.
Why does father involvement specifically impact confidence and discipline and just even
Oh,
classroom identity?
I think that, and I used to say this a lot, that whoever gives a teenage boy, a lot of times, really just teenagers, period, whoever is giving your teenager attention
Mhm.
has their world.
Wow.
So when you as that father are deeply invested, not annoyingly invested, but you are legitimately and deeply invested, you are letting that teenager know they are seen, they are heard, they are loved. When that happens and it's genuine, I see the kids who are like, okay, I know I messed up because dad's here. Or, okay, dad's here to celebrate with me at a hype moment in life.
Right.
I've seen those. And then I've seen the kids who are just like, oh God, my dad's here. Man, can I just burn the school down? Like, so I've seen that, but like just please take that nugget of be invested because whoever is giving your teenager attention has
Mhm.
their world.
That's good. You said you had some advice to parents. Before I move on, I'm going to move on to like race, culture, and just
Okay.
reality and the tension there. But before we do, I want to open up that opportunity for you to share your nugget and your
Oh yes.
bonus for the parents.
Um, big thing. You you do your kids a disservice when it is a wonderful thing as a parent to say, I'm gonna always be there for you.
Hmm.
But you also have to let your kids learn how to puzzle some things out, especially
Hmm.
your teenage babies. School lunch has sucked for decades. Okay. So let's wheel that back with DoorDash and Uber Eats
Hmm.
because you're not really teaching them you're not teaching them survival skills. You're not teaching them of like, hey, I need to make me a lunch. Hey, I
Right.
need to do X, Y, and Z. Or hey, I got a job. Why don't I buy some stuff, lay it to the side? Like, let's teach some of that responsibility. Let's help the kids
Yeah.
puzzle through some things. Another big thing is have that understanding and have that your child should know, yes, I have your back, but we also got to walk into this thing where you got to be completely honest with me. You know,
Facts.
have that understanding that if a teacher
That's
is
good.
willing to spend their time coming and finding a phone that works in the school and calling you at your job from
Mm.
their job, we're not doing that for giggles and for fun. Like we like there's a legit purpose and something that we need handled. So if
Absolutely.
you can partner with us, please. And let me say this, because there were teachers when I was leaving the classroom in 2024, sorry to say this, they were cowards. Because what would
Mm.
happen is they were scared to call the parents because they were like, the parents might yell at me. I'm here for it. Because I'm like,
Is it the first time you've been yelled at?
at the
Will it
end
be
of
the
the
last time you get yelled at?
at the end of the day, are we
Yeah.
here to help your child or are you here to yell? Because if that's the case, we got some yelling spaces around the city of Richmond.
Yeah.
You know, you go there, you do
Yeah.
that. So like those are a couple of pieces of advice. And then also ask for help. It's
That's good.
fine. Good God, the math strategies keep changing every generation. I wish it was simplistic, where just 2 + 2 was 4, and I didn't have to do a roundabout way to solve it. But at the same time, if you don't know,
Yeah.
talk to the teacher. And if the teachers know help, they have specialists at the division level. Thank God there's YouTube. There are so many different things,
Yeah.
but
There's
don't be
counselors. Yeah.
afraid. Don't be afraid to
Yeah.
ask for that help. And lastly, teach the children to self advocate. Don't be that parent that the kid is like, well, my mama gonna say, no, no, no. Let the kid be able to self advocate, that they learn how to communicate and communicate effectively in writing, in person, and even in some of their social media posts, they learn the power of effective communication and effective self advocacy.
Man, that is so powerful. That is so good. I want to talk about race, culture, and just the
Mm,
reality of that.
yeah,
However, we're not going to do it on this one, on this episode. Let's get you. Let's have you back. Can we do that?
absolutely.
This has been
Absolutely.
good. I think that was a good point to end on. Listen, fathers, you just don't raise your kids. You raise their expectations, man.
Yes.
JK, man, it's always a treat to have you on, man. Let's keep doing this, man. Let's make
Thank
this
you.
a series, bro. I want to have you back, man, and continue to empower fathers and encourage them to step into this space, step into their kids' academic journey, and
Yeah.
because it makes all the difference. It makes all the difference. I believe that a present father becomes a child's first advocate and has the power
Oh,
to
yeah.
become a child's advocate. And, they could look back to those years where, man, dad was in my corner and he showed up throughout
Yeah.
my academic journey. Man, is there anything that you want to leave our viewers with?
Oh, wow. Just want to say real quick, don't let your deficiency, your academic or your school deficiencies be a reason that you are absent from your child's education.
That's good. That's
So
good.
if you struggled academically, that's all right. But you got to make sure that that kid says, hey, yeah, I struggle, but I need you to go beyond me. Because I feel like that is always the
Mm.
power of dads is saying, yeah, you might think that I walk on water. I need you to like reach for the stars. Like I need you to go beyond whatever it is that I did. I need you to do that and much more.
That's powerful. And it's even more powerful when it comes from dad, JK Lynch. Thank you so much for just sharing your time with us and
Yeah.
coming back to the Pop Talk show, man. If you haven't seen his first
Yeah.
interview, we'll include a link to it, maybe right here or over here somewhere. But nonetheless, click on that link, look at that previous interview that we had. JK, we're gonna have you back, man. We got to
Yes,
have you back,
absolutely.
bro, because you dropping gems, and I believe that this is some stuff that um, parents need to hear, fathers need to hear,
Yeah.
and schools need to hear. School systems need to hear that. Listen, dads are vital
Yes.
for their child's academic journey. I believe that a quiet dad is an absent dad, and I also believe that, and I'm gonna say this before we get off, that some fathers don't avoid schools. Schools are avoiding fathers.
That's real.
And so that needs to
That's
change.
real.
And man, you're helping to lead that change, man. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Chauncey. Always a privilege, man.